In the UK, services for parents and babies often forget that they need to support the two people it takes to make a baby. While fathers are often included in the birth process, they are easily forgotten during the baby's first year. While being unsupportive for mothers, fathers, and babies, this also sustains the myth that men do not feel emotions as intensely as women do. But having a baby is a profound experience for all, and not everyone can cope with this. It can be even harder for a new father if their partner is going through a breakdown. And on the whole, men are much less likely to ask for emotional support, so they are easily missed by services. This film tells the story of a young first-time father called Ian and his partner Sophie. Sophie had a serious emotional breakdown following the birth of their twins. The story shows how professionals risk making an assumption that when a man doesn't ask for help, he doesn't need it.
You're too heavy now. You're not a baby anymore. Mind your fingers. Oh, they're having a fight. Look.
If they see a happy family, then they're not going to think to delve any deeper. I'm quite a private person. I don't try and show that much emotion, but it doesn't mean that it's not there. It's just because I think men tend to generally just keep everything inside and not talk about it.
I don't have any, I'm sorry.
Sophie and Ian had only been together a few months when they discovered she was pregnant. While Ian was delighted, Sophie's feelings were more mixed. Then they found out they were having twins.
She was quite scared all the time about what was happening with the girls inside her. She was quite changeable in moods.
Sophie had previously been given a diagnosis of an emotional unstable personality disorder. What that label means is that Sophie had been a very frightened and traumatised child who experienced the world as really quite an unsafe place.
So for Sophie, becoming pregnant with not just one, but two babies was far from simple.
We always knew that Gracie was smaller than Mia and that was an issue. We went in for one scan and the consultant, Dr. Selson, basically said, okay, well, I think it's time to have these babies. We were thinking, oh, okay, what, next week? It was like, no, tomorrow. I remember getting gowned up and coming into the theatre. Mia came out first, I think it was. Then Gracie came out second, literally a couple of minutes after. They wrapped them up and I think they showed them to us, but we couldn't hold them straight away. It's hard because you're looking at your baby through a glass box and all you want to be able to do is to hold them. I think we had some good staff and some not so good staff. We had some staff which were quite kind of brash and I don't think they properly took the parents' feelings into account. I can remember Soph was trying to change, I think it was Gracie's nappy, and she was pooing everywhere and like one of the people in the ward was like, oh, don't get it over this, don't get it over that. And it kind of put her off it. It put her off interacting at that stage with the girls because she felt so under pressure. You almost want to talk back to the person who was putting the pressure on in that environment and say, look, sorry, can you give us a bit of a break here? You know, we're two young parents, cut us some slack, give us a break.
Even though it was a difficult experience to be on the special care baby unit. At least there were people there to ask for help. When their babies were discharged home, I think it probably felt like being dropped.
I personally didn't feel a great deal of input from anyone in aftercare, to be honest. We were just essentially just left to get on with it. It was quite scary because Soph was extremely vulnerable. I think I really struggled at work. It's the last place you want to be honest. Especially with the circumstances that we were under, with kind of the pressure that Soph was under. I was sometimes made to feel that I was abandoning them every day, basically.
Given that having a baby stirs so many powerful feelings up, it makes complete sense to need your mother. Sophie was abandoned by her mother when she was 15, but actually she never had a mother she could count on. For Sophie, she was completely on her own in this way, and I think she went into a state of meltdown.
I would get Soph screaming at me saying that they've been crying all day and, you know, I can't do this and you need to take them away from me, and I'd have that virtually every day. She did try a couple of times, just literally just grabbed tons of the paracetamol tablets and went to put them in her mouth, and I'd snatch them out of her hand. Literally, she was like a completely different person. It was like so primitive, essentially. But yeah, she was just lashing out.
What became increasingly difficult was her ability to regulate her own very powerful and distressing feelings whilst trying to calm and comfort and regulate her babies. Who's it going to make sense for her to take that out on? Her partner. She certainly didn't want to take it out on her babies, but it had to get expressed.
There's nothing wrong with you, is there? No. There's nothing wrong.
Remembering, I think there was one time when I came back from work early and she wouldn't even let me in through the door. She actually locked me out. She put the chain on the door and wouldn't let me back in because we'd had an argument about me not coming back. And I can remember because I think I actually broke the chain on the door to get inside because she was in a hysterical state. I was worried that I would make the wrong judgment call and that I would go home and she'd be gone and the two girls would be there. And that was a big worry. I think I threatened her quite a few times to say that I would phone up the mental health team just to say, you know, what was going on with her, and she would tell me not to, and there was always a worry that she would have the babies taken away from her. I don't know. I was kind of torn. You know, I didn't want the babies taken away from us as much as anyone else, but am I making the right decision for their safety? Hello.
Who's that?
Hello.
Daddy.
Fathers in Ian's situation can become seriously depressed, and they may find it very difficult to tell anybody. While this is his story, it's far from unique. The consequences of the situation for their family were profound.
The ideal situation would have been that, you know, that me and Soph were still together, that we still had a cohesive family for the girls. I had her literally throwing all of my things out of the window at one point, telling me to go. And obviously I didn't want to go because it's where my children are. But in the end, it kind of got to a point where I think we both mutually decided it wasn't the off-the-cuff argument, kind of I'm going to go. It was more of a, look, this just isn't working. We need to call it a day.
I'm going to, well, you can watch,
It was
watch
on
me
the
write.
Mum, it was on the sign.
Oh, okay. I'm going to say excellent, excellent try. Then I'll draw a little flower like I always do.
I looked at it as a failure. That was my family. So in the end, although it was hard to leave Soph, the most difficult thing was to leave the girls.
Fall out, says Lola. Stop. Marv says, why don't you want it to fall out? I just need to keep completely all of my teeth, says Lola. And I say, those are just your baby teeth and they are meant to get wobbly and fall out. Then you'll get new teeth and they are your grown-up ones. It's like mooses, I say.
The risk is that professionals will make an assumption that if a man or a family don't ask for help, they don't need it.
I don't think I was ever the focus of any visits of kind of any health professional or kind of any support networks. The relationship was them and Soph. Maybe a consultation appointment should be made for a father to see how things are going, and maybe that can be a forum as to which they can kind of voice any concerns, but just a separate one, so that you can talk freely without causing a conflict within your own relationship.
Professionals may take it for granted that a father will know how professional systems work, but actually it's quite complex, the different roles that people play during this time, and a father may not know what to expect from people. So it's really important that good information is given to every father-to-be, so that they know both how to access help in an emergency, for example a psychiatric emergency, but also who's going to be visiting, how often, when and why, and for what purpose.
Hubby, little baby, would you like me to be your little daddy? Yes. So come on, let's do this off. How about me? Yeah.
It's probably opened up a lot of positive emotions, having children, really good emotions, being able to kind of go out and have two, young children that you're extremely proud of. Emotionally, that's fantastic.
We're going to run then.
Draw the line at kind of doing their hair. That is the most stressful part of being a man with daughters. Gracie asks for her hair like half up, half down and stuff, so I'm just like, sorry, you can't have that. You're around Daddy's house.
It can be terrifying for a father who feels helpless and unable to protect his partner or baby. With hindsight, Ian's isolation was obvious, but nobody noticed at the time. Men may be less likely to talk about their feelings, but Ian's story shows just how much we need to listen to fathers.
No, I think that's a stone.
It's strange. I still look up to my mum and dad, and to think that I've got someone looking up to me, it's quite scary actually, because it's one big task, and you need to try and do it right.
You on?
Mum is not gone yet.
Hold in tight.
Yeah.
Ready? Steady.